Next here we have Christian Rognes.
Yes, very.
Rognes,
Rognes is probably the best pronunciation I've heard so far.
the best so far, and there's like 30,000 people here, so I will take that. I did a good job there, right? That's good.
Nice
So it's good to meet you, sir.
Yeah.
How are you? And you're with Element Logic, right?
Correct.
Right. So tell us a little bit about Element Logic and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Product Officer of Element Logic. I started in Element June of last year.
Okay.
Actually have my background from the software industry, so this whole warehouse automation space is new to me.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the executives at this place, they grew up in the warehouse and they made their career that way, and I kind of like come in the back door there a bit. But it's been an extremely exciting journey for me so far. Element Logic's mission is to optimize warehouse performance. But we're probably most known for being the world's first AutoStore distributor and integrator. So we're a Norwegian, or we were founded in Norway, so was AutoStore, and we delivered the first project there together. And today we're the world's largest AutoStore distributor. I would think between 30 and 40% of the market.
Really?
Wow. But of course, that's not all we do. If we have to optimize warehouse performance, it also goes outside that. But ASRS, like automatic storage and retrieval systems, is always in the core of what we do. And there we use AutoStore, but we also do software connected to all our control systems, the conveyors around. We do material flow control, robotic piece picking, where we partner up with RightHand. Also a very exciting space for us, which we truly believe in. So that's, I guess, is the quick download on the company and me.
Yeah, absolutely. So very interesting stuff. And I did see you guys were the first partner of AutoStore, which I think is pretty interesting. But I'm interested actually because you mentioned that you come from the software side, right? And I think we see, I mean, here right at the show at Modex there's a lot of very visual things, right? Which are the robots, the automation type of things. But software is kind of it's almost invisible in a sense a little bit, but it is so important within kind of that foundational building and making sure that those shiny things are running around the way they're supposed to. So talk to us a little bit about that and how kind of core the software is to what it is that you guys do.
Yeah, really good question on reflection. I think you're spot on. I mean, just walking around here, you would see 20 different solutions for every robotic technology there is, right?
Yeah.
And then it's all about how do you deliver value from that really nice shiny thing. And I think at Element Logic we realized that that's our software. We've been developing our own IP the past 20 years. The last 10 years within this type of space. And really, so that's why I'm the first CPO of the company. That's also an investment the company is doing to actually gather all the resources and assets around software, making sure we can productize that, making sure we can do product management in the right way, meaning that we actually solve some pains in the market. We're not just making stuff work, we're actually solving something. And I think to work as a modern product organization is, I don't see that a lot in this space, and I think at least Element Logic, we believe that will be our key differentiator going forward. That it's really in the software where the magic lies. And I mean, if you think about the warehouse and you think about all the data that flows through there.
So much data.
I mean, and software will be the key to eventually be able to make smart decisions to optimize. What do you need? 2 robots? Do you need an extra man at the port? Do you need how can you actually make the flow and make the value and the throughput better? Because when we build a warehouse, it stays there for 20 years. So the technology choices we made 20 years back is probably not the right ones today. And software will help that warehouse grow and be competitive for the entirety of the lifetime and the growth that the customer may experience during that time. So I definitely think, I mean, I can't say anything else, but I definitely think software would will be the key differentiator for us.
Yeah,
going forward.
yeah, and I think that's such a telling thing too, because I mean, we even hear, we see around the show like some software companies that are popping up and trying to address some of these issues with, interconnectedness and interoperability and things like that, and just making, all the fancy stuff, shiny stuff we see around, like being able to communicate with each other and making that happen. So I'm curious in that regard, because you mentioned something in there about, being a differentiator in the market. So if somebody's coming into the space and, they're thinking like, okay, we need to start to get into some automation, some robotics, something like that. You're an AutoStore partner, for example, but there's other AutoStore partners too, right? So what's the best way to kind of navigate, like who's the integrator that I should go with? How do I assess that? What's the best criteria there?
Yeah, I think I would even start in the sales process of an integrator. Like how concerned are they about actually understanding the pain you have, like the problem you want to solve?
Yeah.
And getting with a partner or a vendor that actually takes the time to explore those problems. I think it's extremely easy for us to jump to a solution and say, hey, we have this and that, and this is the technology and it's super good, but it might not be the right one. So I think like really having a successful project is all about taking the time to explore some problems together. Another aspect to look for maybe is like how close to the end user value do the vendor go? Like like we started with making control systems, which is basically you don't see it, it's middleware, it only makes stuff work, makes the machines work in the right way. But the more and more, now we go into user interface, user experience thinking, data, dashboards, and even data applications, like applications that can make decisions for the warehouse without human interaction, which is super interesting. So I would definitely find a vendor that will be exploring that space to make sure you have a future-proof way forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good advice, because it is kind of, you're new to the space, right? So I mean, you could probably say, coming into this show, it's overwhelming the amount of options there are, right? The amount of solutions, right? So I mean, in that regard too, I mean, what would be your advice for somebody maybe that's thinking like, oh, I can figure this out on my own, I don't necessarily need an integrator or a consultant to work with me?
Yeah, I mean, you probably can't figure it out by yourself, but it will take a lot of time, and the probability that you are versed in all of these technologies are. But I would also say, like, as Element Logic, we made a couple of key bets. So we believe in AutoStore, we believe in right-time robotics, we believe in a certain other partners, and we invested considerable R&D resources on our end to make sure we have systems that really integrate effortlessly with them. So I mean, even though you might look to other automation system or other robotic systems, just the value that a partner has made a choice, and they don't say, okay, which robotic arm do you want? Because if you get that question, you would also, I would assume that maybe the quality of those integration and those control systems and that the data layer would probably suffer from them being agnostic. So Element Logic has actually chosen a non-agnostic strategy where we want to commit to a set of the world-leading partners within their space. And we think that's an important factor for us and a differentiator for us as well.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, because I mean, that approach kind of, I mean, it almost ensures that you're going to become like the expert of those solutions in a sense, right? By focusing just on that instead of trying to have a little bit of knowledge on everything, right? I think, which is an interesting approach for sure.
At least it explains like our success with AutoStore is based on that. We said this is the technology for us, and we're going to be best in that, and that made sure that we're outperforming the market growth every year, right? Because we made some choices and we've scoped the market. Because the market is huge, right? And you can do everything. But if you actually do everything, I at least think you will miss a certain of quality aspects. And at the end of the day, it's trust between customer and client and vendor is about, do you deliver quality and are you reliable? That's what we try to do.
A little bit of kind of detail that can make all the difference, right?
Yeah. But I mean, we're also, so we made an acquisition in we have our base in Europe. That's like where we made our biggest growth. Then
Yeah.
we made an acquisition here in the US a couple of years back, acquiring SDI.
Yeah.
And SDI is this is also an important aspect because SDI is a bit more than or 200 plus people, excellent portfolio of account, really strong customer relationships, and an extreme understanding of the American market.
Yeah.
And to us or me as a CPO, I see that the products that's succeeding in Europe won't necessarily succeed in the US. Because the markets are actually extremely different in how the processes are run, and also the rules and regulations connected to warehousing and distribution centers. So I also think, understanding the market you're in through, people and competency that has been there for a long time is also important. It's not just technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very interesting, and I mean, being able to have those people, like you said, and it creates that additional competency, and really gives you kind of that exposure within the market, but also kind of that expertise and knowledge as well that you're going to push forward out there. So I'm curious from you because you're new to the industry, as you mentioned, right? And as you're here at Modex, I mean, this is your first Modex, I imagine, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So what's really kind of sticking out to you? What's grabbing your attention?
Oh, that's a good. Okay, I can say I really feel it's an industry at some kind of breaking point, some kind of big shift.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. So I talked to a more experienced colleague of mine, and I said, "Wow, this robotic thing here. There's 15 people doing the same thing." And then he said, a couple of years ago, it was 40 people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now it's only 15.
Yeah.
I thought 15 was a lot. So it seems like it's a market that really are testing out a lot of stuff, but also at the same time consolidating. And the best technologies you're starting to understand what that is. And I think when you start understanding what that is, investing in actually making that state of the art, this will be an industry that I think will modernize a lot going forward. Not just connected to the machinery and the robotic space, but also the value generation of the industry itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a great point about, how, because if you were to come here for the first time, you would be like, this is a lot of robots, right? Yeah. But I think it's interesting to point out the fact that, there was 40 and now we're down to 15 for this one type of, solution and focus. But, that type of thing, I mean, is really interesting to see. And it's it's almost like, a couple years ago, everybody was just trying to figure out what does it look like how does it work, and now it's okay, now we're honing in, and this is really what works. This is really how it's going to function and do these types of things. So I think I agree with you that we are kind of at that breaking point a little bit, who's going to really push forward and who's going to drive this complete value for the industry.
So for me, this looks very much like the software industry when we started talking about cloud.
Interesting.
When cloud computing, and I remember it's the same type of things. It's no, maybe not for me, don't believe in that. We know exactly what we're doing. We're in the service, in this server industry, been delivering servers cloud for years.
Yeah.
Not really, But then you started talking more and more, then, the market started tipping a bit. I feel, even though this isn't about cloud, it's about other technologies, I still feel it's there's a reason I go into this space now. I really feel this is the point of time where it's going to start happening really exciting stuff here.
Interesting, yes, that's absolutely very exciting, and I love the analogy there to when cloud came into play on the software side. So
it changed everything.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this continues to develop. So Christian, I really appreciate you coming by and sharing your insights with us. And if people are interested in learning more about Element Logic, what's the best way to do that?
I guess elementlogic.com, I hope.
Okay. I hope so too.
Something else.
Yeah, but definitely check out Element Logic and see what they're up to with AutoStore and right-hand robotics. Really great stuff. So Christian, congratulations on joining the industry.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for coming by the booth. Great to talk to you. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, the New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesAreSexy.com and get your own.